Welcome to State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato, coming to you from the Agnes Veris NJTV studio in beautiful Newark, New Jersey. We're pleased to welcome our good friend Dale Florio, who is a Republican strategist, and he is with Princeton Public Affairs Group, which is?
Best in class.
We don't do promotional stuff on public television. It is a firm that has clients.
We are public affairs, lobbying firm, communications firm.
Okay, you know Trenton better than most. You know politics better than most. Describe the mood and the tenor as we tape this program in mid-April 2018 down in the State House. How collaborative do things feel, Dale?
Well, before I say collaborative, I would say that there's just a freshness. There's a, it's a transition period. So people
with a new governor?
With a new governor, new speaker of the Assembly,
right.
And a lot of new legislators. So, and a changeover from a Republican administration to a Democratic administration. So, there's an excitement, there's a newness, but that's starting to wear off because we now have a budget. The governor has proposed a budget, and the legislature now has to respond to it. So, people have to get down to business. So that transition period is quickly getting into the politics of the budget.
You know, it's interesting. People say, oh, well, the Democrats control the executive branch of government, the governorship. They control the Senate. They control the Assembly. So they control everything. They can get whatever they want done. Why is that not true?
There's more of a difference between being the governor and the legislature than there is having a Republican and a Democratic split. What do I mean by that? I mean, you look in Washington, D.C., we've had presidents and Congress of all the same party, and the battles are historic. You see the same thing in New Jersey. We've had governors and legislatures of the same party, and the politics are, on steroids. And I think we're going to see that here. So I think to the outsiders, they think, oh, well, it's a Democratic administration and everything's going to move.
All those Democrats are the same.
It's just not going to work.
It's not. And by the way, today, as we're taping at NJTV studio, we will have the Senate President, Steve Sweeney, a Democrat, but let's just say he's not in sync with Governor Murphy on every issue. Fair to say?
Very fair to say.
And he will speak for himself. Governor Murphy's tax policies. I mean, Governor Murphy's clearly got his heart in the right place. No one would question that in terms of the things he wants to get done, particularly for those who are suffering the most and need the most state help. But to do that, he's arguing that some of what he needs to do is increase the millionaire's tax. And he doesn't seem to be backing off, Dale. A, what are the odds it happens? B, what do you think, more importantly, from a public policy point of view, the implications may be?
Well, I think there's a good chance that it would happen. It's going to be hard for a lot of Democrats who voted for it twice, I think.
That's right.
Sent a bill to Governor Christie, who then vetoed the bill.
Yeah, they were convinced it wasn't going to happen. It was easier to vote for it.
It was, and you hear that from some of them in the back room. So I think they do pass it this time, and I think Murphy will sign it. But you don't have to hear it from me. There are a lot of smart people, a lot of data firms that have monitored the outmigration of people from New Jersey, or who reach a certain age level and say, my kids are out of school. Do I need to stay here? Do I go over to Pennsylvania? Or maybe I go south. And I think that's...
Go back, because there are tax policies in Pennsylvania, excuse my voice, allergy season. Because in Pennsylvania and Florida, what, tax policy is different?
Well, there's no income tax in Florida, and in Pennsylvania, they don't tax your retirement income in Pennsylvania. It's zero.
But it's not as if, Dale, that the Governor Murphy, is not smart enough, and his people aren't smart enough to understand that that's a risk. I don't believe they believe that's going to happen, because if that were to happen, we would lose the revenue of the wealthiest New Jerseyans. That's not what they want, and they don't believe that's going to happen.
It's the Achilles heel of the narrative. So you can't, whether you maybe suspect it, you can't say it. And in order to do the things that he wants to do, he's going to need the money. Now, I think the false narrative on it is that the amount of money that one would expect to get from a millionaire's tax. If it's a true millionaire's tax,
is about $700 to $800 million.
That's what they're projecting.
What would that do for us in terms of funding public schools, in terms of the pension crisis, et cetera, et cetera?
It's from a fully funding schools. It's maybe half of what you need.
But it does help.
Sure, it helps, but it's only going to help. There's a lot of conversation about fully funding the formula, but there have been
public school formula, state funding of
K
public
through
schools.
12 public funding. There's been a lot of conversation by Republicans and Democrats who believe that the package that was developed back in 2008 2008 under Corzine, the funding program, is outdated. So you could put more money into it, but many people believe that the formula is not current.
Let's move to Washington. Not literally, but
Right.
let's talk. You were on many times with us. I remember, I think you were on with our friend Julie Roginski at a certain point during the campaign, a Democratic strategist talking about the presidential campaign. You believed Trump was going to win. I was like, what is Dale talking about? And now he is in office. He's been in office for a while. This investigation, the Mueller investigation, don't know where it's going to go. Not our point. I do want to talk about and get your sense of Trump's tax policies, A, as it relates to states like New Jersey, because state and local taxes can't deduct them. $10,000 cap, that's ridiculous. For a lot of us, let's just say our property taxes are a few dollars more than that. But the other part of it is I want to talk trade wars.
Right.
Talk state and local taxes first.
It hurts, no doubt.
Why
no
do you do it? I know you don't know why for sure,
Right.
but could it be because New York and New Jersey and states like they didn't vote for him? And
it's easy for the media to write that it was a let's get the Northeast. The fact is we're high tax states, and we were benefiting, by federal tax policy by being able to
deduct them.
Absolutely.
Okay, but that's a good thing, isn't it?
Sure, it's a good thing, but in order to do general tax reform, it's a big country, Steve. When you had to look at the whole country, there were going to be winners and there's going to be losers. Now, I have two sons. They actually benefit. They're starting out in their careers. They actually benefit by tax reform. Somebody like myself, who's a little farther along, not being able to deduct property taxes, is going to be a bite. And that's one thing I didn't understand in the state narrative, where there's been conversation about the millionaire's tax and some other taxes. There's been some conversation that the higher-end people actually are going to benefit by the tax reform plan by Trump. I don't see that happening.
I don't see how that happened, because if you own property and that
Right.
property is taxed big time and you can't write that off, and your 8.9, I believe, % tax you pay, your state income tax, and that goes up to 9.
Right.
Well, no, it's higher than that.
It's higher.
It's higher than that. I think it's over 10, right?
Yes.
How does that help someone who's a millionaire?
I
or
moved
even
from
close?
Montgomery Township, where I was paying $40,000 in property taxes, to a two-bedroom condo in Hoboken, where I'm paying now $21,000, and that's still above the state average. So I'm already, I can deduct 10, but I still have another 10 or 11 to go.
Real quick, President Trump, do you see him at any point saying, hey, wait a minute, I need to check myself and really reassess the way I make my decisions, which seem to very often shoot from the hip?
I know. We've been watching Donald Trump for many years, right? So his antics are no surprise to us at all. So no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's the way it's going to be. But think about it. He's been
seconds, go ahead.
He's been cranking through issues that he said he was going to address. Tax reform. He wasn't successful in health care. I'm not defending his antics, but I'm saying he's following his agenda, much like Murphy, to his credit, is saying what he said on the campaign trail, he's now trying to implement now that he's governor.
Dale Florio, Republican strategist, Princeton Public Affairs Group. I want to thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, partner. Stay right there. We'll be right back. This is State of Affairs from NJTV Studios in Newark, New Jersey.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Veris NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, Wells Fargo, Georgian Court University, the New Jersey Education Association, New Jersey Resources, Adler Aphasia Center, and by Choose New Jersey,